A band full of energy, concepts, and out-of-control performances. Mars Volta can be described as many things. Their contribution to the underground rock scene is noted amongst the indie crowd and the indie bands of the world, but they have even reached the mainstream and pop charts as well. Many pop artists credit them to being a source of inspiration. And yet, despite all these things, you may never have heard about them before. I know I myself did not hear about Mars Volta until I was about 20 years old, and the indie scene had been alive and well for, I'd say, over 5 years, maybe even close to 10 years. The revival had been at that point. But make no mistake, these guys have been around, and their contributions to music are extraordinary. On top of that, their personal lives are just a mess, and I say that in a good way. But the Mars Volta themselves came out of two different bands, and in turn, they have spawned another 5 or 6 spin-off bands, as well as different members of their bands either collaborate within the group or they splinter off and go into different side projects only to reconvene again as a band under the name Mars Volta. So, this week's episode, we are going to talk a little bit about the band history, but we're going to focus in a little bit more about their contributions to the music scene and what they're up to today. My name is Lee. Welcome to the Mainstream Indie Music channel. We cover everything indie music, especially the 2000s indie revival era up until our day. We do dive into a little bit of history of indie music as well. In fact, even just a couple weeks ago, we talked about an older, and I say older with all love, but older musician. And, we get into other genres as well. We get into pop punk a lot too. So I'm glad that you're here. If you're returning, welcome back. So the Mars Volta, that's who we're going to talk about this week. There are many big shout outs amongst the band, but two in particular are Omar and Cedric. They really are referenced as being the leaders of the band, the big writers, the singers, and instrumentalists of the band. And so, again, while there are many contributions to the band, the Mars Volta, which we'll also get to a little later, they are really the creative geniuses behind the group. Now, they themselves had, as I stated before, had spun off from another group at the drive-in. They had a heavy influence, especially in California, and right when they were on the verge of success, that group broke up. But almost immediately, Omar and Cedric went to work on the Mars Volta, where they wanted to start making music. And that momentum from at the drive-in really paid off because already they started touring, they got their band together, and were starting to do smaller shows. And when they wanted to make their very first album, Deloused in the Comatorium, they got Rick Rubin to help produce it. Rick Rubin himself has stated many a times how much of a big fan he is of the Mars Volta, and I mean, hey, he was there from the get-go, from the beginning. Mars Volta as a group got much love from California, so much love that on their debut album, Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers and John Frusciante from the Red Hot Chili Peppers both contributed heavy parts with the bass guitar and lead guitar in their first album. And not only that, they had the Mars Volta open up for them for their very first tour. Now, sadly, this kind of come up was short-lived because of the death of one of their band members from a drug overdose. In fact, a lot of people think if you listen to Mars Volta, it might be because you're using some sort of drugs. Hey, no judgment here. I'm just stating what I've read and what I've researched. And the Mars Volta definitely was known for that. But the death of their band member definitely contributed to Omar and Cedric in particular swearing off opioids for the rest of their lives. The release of their second album, Francis and the Mute, was very, very interesting because Cedric and Omar decided to record the album with each band member not being able to listen to the other parts of the song, instead just playing along to a metronome. That idea worked though. The concept for this one, while people may not have liked it as much as their first album, Deloused, they definitely praised the unique kind of concept and creation of the second album. And again, they were rewarded for their out-of-the-box thinking style, as they were picked up by System of a Down to go tour for the release of their second album. In the years after that third album, Mars Volta continued to tour, to make albums throughout the end of the 2000s and into the 2010s. And what's more, John Frusciante loved this group. He came on to record many more songs, including their next album, where he pretty much played the guitar, the lead guitar, for almost their entire fourth album. During these periods of times, after these album releases, kind of leaning now into the early 2010s, the Mars Volta especially had a hard time keeping a drummer. They would constantly cycle between different drummers. They would fire one, they would hire a new one, have a good feeling, the new one would leave. Some of them didn't leave on bad blood, they just had previous commitments with other groups. But it just seems like through the 2010s, they just could not keep a drummer to save their life, constantly just losing them. All the turmoil especially started to take a toll on Cedric and Omar, where first, one of them left the band and stated that they eventually would regroup, while the other said that they were officially done with the Mars Volta and no longer wanted to make music. Eventually, they felt that the band could no longer go on and put the Mars Volta on a very long hiatus. Now, during that time on their hiatus, one of their founding members sadly died of a heart attack, and I think that especially moved Omar and Cedric to consider regrouping the band. Right before COVID hit in 2020, near the end of 2019, they were hinting at a Mars Volta reunion. COVID definitely kind of delayed the return of them, but by 2021, several release singles were starting to come out, and kind of happy to say, at the end of 2024, they were stating that they were going to release a new album, which was just released in 2025 this year, that they are now on tour for. Many groups and bands and artists have stated them as an influence, from people like Lizzo, Tool, Dream Theater, even Kanye West stating how big of an influence this band is. There's no doubt that they've left an impression. But what do you guys think of the Mars Volta? Feel free to comment below. See you next week.